High school football week number 8. We take a look at another matchup as the James Wood Colonels host the Fauquier Falcons last week. Unfortunately, the Colonels falling to crosstown rival Sherando. As always, joining me, the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. And coach, first and foremost, not a result you and the team wanted to see, but can you just sort of talk about the game against Sherando and what you saw?
Yeah, it was. Our kids played really hard. We've talked about it before. We know a game of momentums and swings and things like that, and things just didn't go in our favor there. Towards the end of the second quarter, Sherando put together a good drive. That they go up 7-0. We towards the late there in the second quarter felt like we forced and recovered a fumble. Didn't go our way. Stayed with Sherando. Shortly after that, we go down and force them to 3 points. For them to go up 10-0. We roughed the snapper, gave them an extra possession. Which is just our mistake. We need to stay off the snapper. Gave them an extra possession there. They scored there, make it 14-0. They kick off to us. Our returner goes down on their sideline. And looking back on film, we're pretty confident that he was down before the ball came loose. But again, it's one of those things you got to call it on the field as you saw it. Officials gave it to Sherando. Shortly after that, they score another one, make it 21-0. Up until that point, I thought it was a really good game, really, really contested game. We were making them do a few things that they didn't want to do. And, we were struggling, really moving the ball. So it went from, 7 or 10-0 game to a 21-0 game in a matter of just a couple minutes of the game. That's kind of overall, how the first half went. And in the second half, I was, extremely proud of how our guys battled the whole game. We lost a couple guys to injuries during the game. Extremely proud of how the guys stepped up in those positions to fill those voids for us. We started the game down, 2 of our, top receivers, not only on our team, but in the area. They're really good athletes, and neither one of those guys played for us on offense, which obviously, hindered our offense a little bit. But the guys that stepped in to play for those guys, they did a nice job as well. So overall, we talked about how proud of the team, even though we didn't win, there was still a lot to be thankful for. The guys fought really hard. So that's a good sign of a team that's progressing. It's just not there yet, but I think we're getting better.
We've talked about the youth of your team numerous times in instances in games against pretty good opponents. Do you sort of look at that as a measuring stick on how good your team has gotten from week 1 to now and what you can do to build upon that in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked to the team on Monday about it. We know we're a little bit behind the Sherandos and the Hanleys of our area. That they have really good football teams. They've had really good football teams, but we feel that one time I told the kids, I looked around in the huddle there. I think it was like third quarter. I think we had one senior on the field. Everybody else was freshmen and sophomores. So that's a good sign. I mean, it's frustrating at times now when you're taking those, making those learning curves and stuff like that. But the future looks good for us. In these type of games, in how things go, our learning experience for these young guys to be able to, play in this system for the next couple of years.
And you mentioned some guys, and we spoke about this earlier in the season as well, stepping up in bigger roles, sort of looking at some of those guys who have done that in the past and seeing where they are now. How do you think your team has progressed in that sense?
Yeah, we started, the quarterback role. He's done a really good job of, using his legs more this year. Some designed, just because he's such a hard worker in the weight room. He's gained a lot of, size and weight, put on weight to be able to take the running that it takes as a quarterback. And he's done good things scrambling as well. We got a lot of other young guys. We started two sophomore on the offensive line. our right guard and right tackle are both sophomores. One kid is a second year player to football. First time he played football was last year as a freshman. So, those guys are getting better week in and week out. On the defensive side, guys that have stepped up in positions that, Miguel Padilla, a senior for us, but, really hadn't done a lot at linebacker. He stepped in and filled that void that, we knew Vinny was going to be able to do what he's done at linebacker, but, we were a little concerned about who was going to be that guy beside of him. Miguel stepped in and has done a nice job there. And then, some of the other secondary guys that were rotating in and outside linebacker, Jaden Jordan is a junior and Logan LaFollette's a sophomore. I thought both of those guys rotated in and did some nice things. And, a guy that we really didn't know about coming into the year is our one of our freshmen, Donnie Ramirez, Don Ramirez's brother. He's started for us on the defensive line every game this year and has played pretty much the entire game besides being rotated in and out. And he progressively gets better week after week.
And so looking at a game like this with all the positives, with your team fighting through and sort of looking into this week, facing a Fauquier Falcons team with a first-year head coach, sort of just take us through what your scout on Fauquier is early on.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lot better than what their record represents. They pose some threats. They're a little bit more athletic on the outside than what they were, I think, last year. They still got some big size up front. On the offense and defensive line, those guys are some big boys. They can pose a threat there with either stopping a run or getting their run game going. They passed a little bit more in the last couple of weeks than they did early on. I'm not sure if that's out of necessity or just kind of changing up their game plan a little bit. But they really want to run the ball. I think if we do a good job of, limiting the big plays and slowing their running game down and forcing them in to throw a little bit, I think that goes in our favor a little bit. We got some pretty good, pass rushers in Jordan Sweetser. So if we force, teams to have getting long yardage where we know they're passing, third and longs, we can kind of pin our ears back and get after them a little bit. And like I said, we got one of the better pass rushers in the area with Jordan Sweetser. So, I like our chances there too.
Once again, it's James Wood and Fauquier, part of a jam-packed Week 8 in high school football. As always, joining me, the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. And Coach, again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.